Hello and welcome to another part of this chapter probability. In this part we are going to discuss about expectation in probability. In the previous parts we have discussed about the probability distribution both for discrete and continuous cases. So we start the expectation in probability. We first assume that capital X is a given random variable. It may be discrete or continuous. So if it is discrete, then the corresponding spectrums and the masses are given, and if it is continuous, then PDF corresponding to X is given. Also assume that G is a real valued function. That means Gx, it is a function of the random variable capital X. We now define expectation in probability. First we assume that the random variable X is discrete. So if X is discrete, then the spectrums and the masses are given. So we assume that the spectrums are given by xi and fxi. These are the corresponding masses. Expectation is denoted by capital E, and we read it expectation of the function gx with respect to this discrete distribution fxi is equal to summation over the spectrums, and the sum is over g of xi multiplied by fxi. Remember that fxi, these are the masses, and gxi, this is the value of the function gx at the spectrum point xi. So this is the definition of expectation in discrete distribution. That means expectation of gx, this should be equal to summation over the spectrums g of xi multiplied by the mass. So the number of terms in this summation is equal to number of spectrums of the distribution of x. So this is the definition of expectation in discrete distribution. Next we assume that the random variable x is continuous. In this case, probability density function or PDF is given. In this case, expectation is defined by E of gx. That means expectation of the function gx, this is equal to integration of gx and fx from minus to plus infinity, where gx is the given function and fx is the PDF or probability density function of the random variable x. So this is actually the definition of expectation. For discrete case, expectation of gx equal to summation of gxi multiplied by xi, and summation is extended over the number of spectrums. And in continuous case, expectation of gx is equal to integration of gx and fx from minus infinitive to plus infinitive. Next we discuss about the properties of expectation. There are some important properties of expectation. We consider one by one. The first property is expectation of a constant c is equal to that constant c, and this is valid for any constant c. We know that for discrete distribution, expectation of gx equal to summation of gxi multiplied by fxi, and sum is extended over the number of spectrums. Now if the function gx is constant, so E of c, this should be equal to summation over xi. Now if gx equal to c, then gxi is also equal to c, so c into fxi. So if we take c outside the summation, because c is a constant, then it is summation of xi over the spectrums, and this is nothing but sum of all the masses, and we know that sum of all the masses is equal to 1, so this is c into 1, that is c. So for discrete distribution, E of c equal to c. Similarly for continuous distribution, we know that expectation of c, integration from minus infinity to plus infinity, c into fx dx, because we know that expectation of gx equal to integration of gx into fx. Now if gx is a constant, say, then it is E of c equal to c into fx, its integration from minus to plus infinity. Now we can take c outside the integration, then we find that it is integration of fx from minus infinity to plus infinity, and we know from the property of PDF that this is equal to 1. So it is C into 1, that is equal to C. Therefore, for discrete case and also for continuous case, expectation of any constant is equal to constant C. As per example, expectation of 1 is equal to 1. Consider property number 2. It is given that suppose there are two functions g1x and g2x. So this property says that expectation of g1x plus minus g2x is equal to expectation of g1x plus minus expectation of g2x. The proof is very simple. For discrete case, expectation of g1x plus minus g2x, this should be equal to summation over xi g1xi plus minus g2xi multiplied by fxi. Now we can break the summation into two parts. In the first one, we shall consider summation of g1xi multiplied by fxi plus minus we shall consider summation of g2xi multiplied by f of xi. Therefore, the first part will be e of g1x and the second part will be e of g2x. Similarly, for continuous distribution, expectation of this should be integration of g1x plus minus g2x multiplied by fx. We can break the integral into two parts. In the first part, we shall consider integration of g1x and fx, and in the next part, we shall consider g2x and fx. Therefore, the first part will be expectation of g1x, and in the second part, it should be expectation of g2x. Next, we consider property number 3. It is expectation of c into gx is equal to c into expectation of gx. That means any constant can be taken out of the expectation. You can easily prove this. So I skip the proof here. Next, we consider property number 4. It is given that if gx is greater or equal to 0 for all x, then expectation of gx is also non-negative. So if the function gx is non-negative, then its expectation is also non-negative. The proof of this is very simple. We know that for discrete case, expectation of gx equal to summation over xi of gxi multiplied by fxi, and in continuous case, it is integration of gx into fx from minus to plus infinity. Okay, if gx is greater or equal to 0, that means if gx is non-negative, then we know that the masses are also non-negative. This is the first property of PMF. So if gxi these are non-negative, fxi these are non-negative. So if we multiply these two, then gxi into fxi this is also non-negative. And if we add some non-negative terms, the sum will be always non-negative. Therefore, expectation of gx is non-negative for discrete case. Now in continuous distribution, we know that fx PDF is always non-negative, and in this case it is given that gx is non-negative. So product of fx and gx is also non-negative. Therefore, after the integration, the value will be non-negative. So for discrete and continuous case, if gx is non-negative, then expectation of that function is also non-negative. Next, to define moment. Moment is nothing but expectation. It is defined as the kth order moment about the point x equal to a is given by expectation of x minus a to the power k. This quantity is called kth order moment about the point x equal to a. From the formula, we know that value of this is equal to summation of xi minus a to the power k multiplied by fxi, and sum is over xi if the distribution is discrete, and it is equal to integration of x minus a to the power k multiplied by fx, and integration is from minus to plus infinity if the distribution is continuous. This is called kth order moment about x equal to a. We shall discuss about two types of moments, central moment and moment about origin. To define central moment, we first define moment about origin. Actually, if the point A is taken as the origin, then this is called moment about the origin. So if A is equal to 0, then the kth order moment about the origin should be expectation of x minus 0 to the power k. So expectation of x to the power k. This should be defined as alpha k. So alpha k is the kth order moment about the origin. Now in particular, if k is equal to 1, then alpha 1 equal to expectation of x. This is called mean or average. We define the mean as m. So the first order moment about the origin is called the mean. Now we define central moment. If the point A is taken as the mean, here we have defined the mean, that is alpha 1. If the point A is taken as mean, then the kth order moment about the mean is called the central moment, and it is denoted by mu k. So mu k is the kth order moment taken about the mean. So x minus m to the power k. So expectation of x minus m to the power k, this is called kth order central moment. That means moment about the mean. Next we consider relation between mu k and alpha k. That is relation between central moment and moment about the origin. We have already defined that alpha k, the moment about origin, is defined as expectation of x to the power k, and mu k, the central moment, is defined as expectation of x minus m to the power k. Now to find the relation between mu k and alpha k, we need to expand x minus m to the power k in binomial series. We know that this is the binomial expansion of x minus m to the power k. It is summation over I from 0 to k minus 1 to the power I multiplied by kci x to the power k minus I and m to the power I. Now we already know from the properties of expectation that expectation of the sum of the functions can be written as sum of the expectation of the individual function. So we can exchange summation and expectation. So if we exchange summation and expectation, then this can be written as summation over the expectation of this quantity. Now minus 1 to the power I, k, c, I and m to the power I, these are constants. So we can take these constants outside the expectation. So here it is, we have taken all the constants outside the expectation. Now this is e of x to the power k minus I. This is the moment about the origin of order k minus I. So e of x to the power k minus I, this can be written as alpha k minus I. So we have written this. So this is the required relation between mu k and alpha k. So mu k can be written as the combinations of alpha 0, alpha 1, alpha 2 up to alpha k. In particular, mu 1 equal to expectation of x minus m to the power 1, and this can be written as e of x minus e of m, and we have already obtained that e of x, that is alpha 1, this is equal to m mean, and e of m, because m is a constant, so e of m equal to m, so that is equal to 0. So mu 1 equal to 0. So the first order central moment is always equal to 0. Now mu 2 can be written as sum of this, replacing k equal to 2. So if we expand this, this is equal to alpha 2 minus 2 alpha 1 m plus m square. Now alpha 1 is equal to m, so this is equal to alpha 2 minus m square. Similarly, if we expand mu 3, then we shall obtain that this is equal to alpha 3 minus c alpha 2 m plus c alpha 1 m square minus m3. So this is equal to alpha 3 minus 3 alpha 2 m, and alpha 1 is m, so it is plus 2 m cube. Similarly, we can obtain mu 4, mu 5, etc. Next, we shall consider some important moments. We have already discussed about this. Alpha 1, the first order moment about the origin e of x, it is equal to mean. Now geometrical significance of m is that it is the mean or average, and in physics the geometrical meaning of this is the center of mass. So this is mean. Next we consider variance, which is denoted by sigma square. It is the second order central moment. So second order central moment is called variance, and it is equal to expectation of x minus m whole square, where m is the mean. So this can be written as alpha 2 minus m square. So this is called variance. Now if we take the positive square root of variance, then we shall get standard deviation. So mu 2 is the variance, and if we take positive square root of variance, then we get standard deviation. Now what is the geometrical significance of variance? We find that variance is equal to expectation of x minus m whole square. So if m is the mean, then x minus m whole square represents the square of the distance between x and m. So if we consider expectation of x minus m whole square, this represents average of the squared distances from x and the mean for all the masses. So if variance is very small quantity, that means there is a high concentration of mass near the mean m, and if the variance is large quantity, that means the concentration of the masses near m is very low. So the masses are scattered everywhere. Next we shall define skewness. Skewness is defined as mu 3. So this is the third order central moment. So it is E of x minus m cube. So third order central moment is called skewness. So what is skewness? So before we discuss about skewness, we first consider symmetry of distribution. Now suppose there is a continuous distribution with the density function fx, then this distribution is called symmetric about the point x equal to a if f of a minus x is equal to f of a plus x for all x. That means the height of the curve is equal on the both sides of the point x equal to a. That means the graph is equivalent about the point x equal to a. As for example, consider the graph of normal distribution. We have already discussed about the normal distribution, the density curve fx. So if we plot the density curve in real line, then we find that the normal distribution fx is symmetric about the point x equal to mu, which is the mean. In this case, for normal distribution, we can write that f of mu minus x is equal to f of mu plus x for all x. If for any distribution a point exists such that it is symmetric about that point, then the distribution is called symmetric. Otherwise, it is called asymmetric. As for normal distribution, we know that the distribution is symmetric about the mean. So now we consider skewness. If somehow we find that value of mu 3 is equal to 0, then the distribution is symmetric about mean. So remember that if mu 3 equal to 0, then the distribution is symmetric about the mean. But if the skewness is non-zero, then the distribution is called skewed. So let us discuss about that. Now if the distribution is not symmetric, that means mu 3 is not equal to 0, then two cases may arise. Either mu 3 is greater than 0 or mu 3 is less than 0. If mu 3 is greater than 0, then it is called positively skewed. That means the density curve is skewed to the right hand side of the mean, something like that. In this case, it is called the graph is positively skewed. And if mu 3 is less than 0, then the density curve is skewed to the left hand side of mu or mean. So in this case, if mu 3 is less than 0, then the graph is like something like that. In this case, the graph is called negatively skewed. So if it is symmetric, then it is symmetric about the mean. If it is positively skewed, then it is skewed on the right hand side of the mean, and if it is negatively skewed, then it is skewed on the left hand side of mean. Now in skewness, we shall define the coefficient of skewness by gamma 1 equal to mu 3 by sigma cube. This is called coefficient of skewness. So if mu 3 is divided by sigma cube, sigma is the standard deviation of the distribution. So gamma 1 is a dimensionless quantity. This is called coefficient of skewness. So for symmetric distribution, gamma 1 equal to 0. For positively skewed graph, gamma 1 greater equal to 0. And for negatively skewed graph, gamma 1 is less than 0. Next we define kurtosis. For kurtosis, we need to find mu4. This is fourth order central moment. If mu3 is obtained, then the dimensionless quantity mu4 divided by sigma to the power 4. This is called coefficient of kurtosis. And it is denoted by beta 2. So beta 2 is the coefficient of kurtosis. It is mu4 divided by sigma to the power 4. Sigma is the standard deviation and mu4 is the fourth order central moment. This is called coefficient of kurtosis. Next we shall discuss about the geometrical significance of coefficient of kurtosis. We have discussed about normal distribution, and if we compute the coefficient of kurtosis for normal distribution, we shall obtain that the value of beta 2 will be equal to 3. We shall obtain this in the next part. Now if beta 2 is equal to 3, that means coefficient of kurtosis is equal to 3, then it is called mesokartic graph. So for normal distribution, the graph is mesokartic. We consider the remaining two cases. If beta 2 is greater than 3, then it is called leptokartic graph, and if beta 2 is less than 3, then it is called platokartic. Actually, beta 2 represents the flatness or the sharpness of the peak of the graph. So we have discussed that for normal distribution, beta 2 is equal to 3. So if this is the graph of normal distribution, then if beta 2 is greater than 3, then the peak of the graph should be sharper than the normal distribution. So the leptokartic graph should be like that. It has a sharper peak than that of normal distribution. If beta 2 is greater than 3, then the peak of that distribution should be sharper than that of normal distribution. In this case, the graph is called leptokartic. And finally, beta 3 is less than 3, then the graph has a flatter peak than that of normal distribution. So from this figure we find that if beta 2 is less than 3, then the peak is flatter than that of normal distribution. So in this case, beta 2 less than 3. But if beta 2 is greater than 3, then it has a sharper peak than that of normal distribution. So coefficient of kurtosis determines the sharpness or the flatness of the peak of the curve. So these are the geometrical significance of some important moments. So that completes this part. In the next part, we shall consider few theorems and we shall find the mean variance for some important distributions. So see you in the next part. Until then, thanks for watching.